What's up, guys? Welcome back. Ryan, I appreciate you being here. Lindsay, thank you very much. It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
So today we are going to talk about a EurCad trade that two of us, I thought all three of us, but only two of us were in this yesterday, Wednesday, July 8th. And we're actually going to share with you guys how that trade idea yesterday, in hindsight, can be used to then create another trade idea in the same direction today. So before we share the screen, before we go at the EurCad chart, give me, Ryan, just kind of like give me an overview of the week, if you can, on your perspective, kind of going into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, based on the trading that you did on Monday and Tuesday. Were you looking for a trade? Were you hungry for something on Wednesday when this presented, or where was your head at coming into it?
Coming into Thursday or coming into yesterday?
Coming into Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm always hungry, so I'm always looking for a trade.
Good answer.
And it's been pretty good. This week's been pretty good. I think I've picked trades well and mitigate loss on one, like on GJ. I think it was on Monday where I actually cut it short halfway through, and then I switched over to GU, and then I traded GJ for that huge rip right to ADR.
I saw that. That was on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that was the day I was still moving in, so I missed that one with you guys, but I was a little bummed about, but okay, that's okay.
Yeah, and then I traded GCAD, I believe it was yesterday.
Nice.
I don't remember where I traded. I'm looking at it now. I don't remember where I traded it.
Were you trading that long?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's even a good place to transition from. Lindsay, were you in that GCAD idea with him on Tuesday? Did you?
No.
What was that, Ryan?
It was yesterday.
Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Okay.
Yesterday I was in EurCad.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So, Ryan, you transitioned the EurCad idea that we're going to talk about into a GCAD trade, trading the same direction on a CAD quote pair.
Correct. So if you when you start showing your screen, you'll see EurCad dip down, and your GCAD did the same thing, and then that's when I got in.
Got it. So here, I'll pull up the screen now. So this is where we took our EurCad position. I can highlight the technicals really quick just to lay it out for everybody. And I think, Lindsay, you and I both were pretty set on the idea that if we were going to trade something today, it had to be EurCad. There was a few other ideas during the day on, this was, like I said, the 8th, which was yesterday. But this one, with this TDI being perfect, with the EMAs being long biased, knowing that we were sitting at the 50 EMA, that's a really good spot for us to be looking for buys. But what was the main thing that you saw that kept you a little hesitant on this trade? I know, was it the 4-hour time frame you were looking at that had a zone?
Yeah, and I was in that trade the day before on the 7th as well. So obviously I was following the long buys from the day before that. And then I came into that looking to see longs because I like to TDI across the higher time frames as well. But I just felt for this trade that I was pretty aggressive with it just because of the zone coming from the 1 hour where I knew it had came to resistance before.
Makes sense. And I can see the resistance. So you caught the move up here on Tuesday, you're saying, and then overnight held that 50 EMA really well.
Yeah.
But as it held the 50, it was almost like wedging itself between the 50 down here and that zone up here. It was just bringing itself tighter. How do you, like for me, I normally will look to trade zones like this after we're already outside of that. We already break to the upside and then, we take a retest. So when you see this zone, I know that this basically was like the one thing that you were throwing flags at, saying if this zone is in the way, we might see this bounce off the zone, which really it did. It couldn't hold through. But what led you to still taking the position anyway with us?
Because although the zone I saw in the higher time frames, it had gone up the zone and basically came to where we got to on the take profit on this trade and came back down. So I'm going to say I was aggressive and kind of just wiped the zone out, and I was kept that long bias, which you should never do. You should always come in unbiased. But I came in and I was aggressive looking at the higher time frames because I did think with the TDI being the way it was, the way the higher time frames were read, that this was going to push through, which it did, but it fell away.
That's very fair. It fell very hard. Did you take this 1 minute divergence into account once you took the position? Were you looking at this 1 minute divergence bearish, showing you, hey, this might not hold the zone, this could come back through once this started to set up?
No, I have to say, I was just concentrating on the 15 minute.
Just curious. So on the 15 minute with that zone there, and which it's cool because we were trading long as it tried to break the zone, and then Ryan was able to come in on a different pair and trade this back the opposite. Right, Ryan? You were able to trade this.
Correct. I traded.
Here, correct? You were in here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a little bit before.
Down. That's right after it pinned. That's when I got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And this comes after the same idea where we saw the big GBP move the day before. This is where you saw that GJ rip, the GCAD rip, GU ripped. So it's kind of keeping that same bias. So the trades are still very aligned, but I think when you're looking at them comparatively on the 15-minute, this one, it's under the 50 EMA. There's no significant level right here. So just comparing them side by side, I think EurCad is the better trade. But it's interesting to see it when you look at this, like, and I know what you're saying about the zone, Linz, but for me, I'm like, we have the zone there, but if you look at everything else in hindsight, if we were to come back to this, we would say that's a good entry. That's a good A1 shift candle. So if that's the case, I want to be involved in it to some extent. And this is where, and we talked about this on your story and we talked about this on my post, where grading the setups comes into play. So when I looked at this, perfect TDI, perfect EMAs, outside the Asian range, space on ADR, the only issue was really the fact was that we had that zone there. Some people were saying the L50 is falling. I'm like, it's falling, but we're clearly in the buy zone. Like it's clearly that, you know what I mean? Like it's not that much like we want to lean against from trading at all. So when you're grading this, I gave it a B, but do you ever find that you would give it a B like that and still trade it as a C because of that zone?
Yeah, I did the same because of the zone.
So even though it was a good setup, you still will size down just to be conservative.
Yeah.
And then when did you lock your stop on this once it moved higher? Because from the entry, it looks like it goes up about 3R at most. I had about a 7 pip stop and it goes about 20 pips, 21 pips.
And I didn't lock my stop until it was at 2R because I remembered it was a shift candle, so it could pull back to the 21.
I love that. Yeah, I'm the same boat as you. Yep.
So I didn't lock it until it was up 2R, because if I had have locked it before that, I would have got taken out.
Yeah, right. I was just going to say, because it pins back twice
pins
right
back
here.
To the entry.
Pretty deep. Yep. Right there. And that would have tapped you. And that's good. I mean, that's even a good perspective for people that are listening. Like if you understand the difference between shift candles and 2-candle, 3-candle formations, shift candles, like she said, will pull back. So you want to make sure that you're not moving your stop loss too quickly. Whereas if you look at like a 2-candle or a 3-candle formation, that better go in the next 15 minutes or I want to lock my stop. You know what I mean? I better be able to lock my stop in 15 minutes or there's something wrong, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now, Ryan, when you saw the GCAD trade earlier at 6:15, 6:30, and then 3 hours later you see this EurCad trade, what keeps you from taking the EurCad long, even though you had already been buying GCAD this morning?
It wasn't a technical thing. It was it was probably a little bit more discipline based. It's because I wasn't prepared to take the trade. I hadn't graded it. The only reason I saw it is because Manuel pointed it out. So when I looked at it, I was like, hey, that's a pretty good shift candle. First, I don't generally trade shift candles. I'll wait for the 2-candle formation after. They're still in the present. That's fine. Another reason is I had already made money on GCAD. And again, I hadn't been prepared to take this trade. I hadn't graded it. I hadn't analyzed it fully. So I didn't want to.
Makes a lot of sense.
That's good. Yep.
Dude, at least you're honest about it, which is amazing. And I feel like people listening will appreciate that because a lot of people would say, they try to make us some excuse. My computer lagged or whatever. Like I was in the group, I was in the shower, I was taking a shit, whatever. Like they'll make some excuse. It's like, no, bro, I can't watch every pair every second of the day.
And well, because I had already traded GCAD, and for me, I was like, I'm kind of done for the day. Hadn't not shown up, I would have been done. I would have been watching a movie, playing video games, whatever. But in this case, I was still at the computer. Manuel pointed it out, and I looked at it as, it's pretty nice. I'd already made money on it. I acknowledged the zone. Again, it's a shift candle, which I'm not too big of a fan of, and I wasn't prepared. But mainly, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't going to impulsively push the button.
I find that these shift candles too, like this one, I mean, if you were looking at this had so much space to move on ADR.
Yeah.
So much space to move to the pivot. I was like, this shift candle is trying to make me think it can go to the moon. Like it's really trying to make me think that it can run all day. But like you guys were saying, we know that they'll give you these pops, but they will return to the 21 EMA to some extent. So it's really important, I think, especially after it goes up 3R, you got to have that stop block. You're not taking a pullback on that. Like if you give back profits.
No, because it was really good risk. It was good risk reward on it.
Yep.
Take away this zone, get rid of that. There's nothing in the way. Like if you weren't drawing that zone based on, and like I wasn't, I knew it was there because I saw it when you guys were sending it, but I didn't have it drawn. I'm just looking at sky. I see this coming off the 50. I'm looking at the sky. I'm like, all right, if we can break past yesterday's high, we're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't hold through, and I think that just is that's the tale of trading, right? Where sometimes you think that they can be these
Absolutely.
massive movers, but we've learned over time that they're not. So it's important to be, like I said, lock in the gains. But let me transition us now into today. So today, if you kept that long bias, and if I was to go back to the 1 hour and draw the zone that you were talking about, Lindsay, which is basically right here. Coming into today, we actually saw it retest that zone again here last night during the Asian session. When it pulled back today under the 800 EMA, it became oversold and divergent on the 15-minute. You can see from 5 a.m. into 6 a.m. the RSI is rising here on the 15-minute, and its price is falling. So with that divergence at the bottom, I was actually on the 1 minute just watching this, and I was watching to see this divergence build and build and build, and it finally set in a level here at 152.84. So if I blow up this TDI, you'll see how I drew it. It really took a while. And I drew it first just to these 2 points from 3:30 to 4 o'clock. That was where I was looking at it originally. I considered this as like the jab that came down finally to set it in place. So I was looking at it like this. That was where I was originally marking the divergence. And I think now, just because you have even more divergence in here, see how that's rising slightly there? And then this is falling here. So you have all of that in there, two different sets of divergence. You know the bottom of that divergence right there, that bottom pin zone, that is your low. That is the bottom that we want to see set in. So for me, while this developed, this is right when I woke up, I, of course, was not going to be jumping in to buy it right there on that D2 idea, D1 idea, the divergence trade. But I did like the idea here, after we set in the double bottom, confirming the low here, right? So we're now set. And then I even more liked the idea as each pin, look at that. Each pin started to come higher. So it started to make sense to me that if you wanted to buy it, this is where your stop would be, and you'd be looking to get in somewhere here on the break of the 50. And if you were able to do that, this thing ends up running from that low. Yeah, it's a really good rip. And it's following the same bias. And now look, it's right at the zone again right now.
Yeah, I had it marked up because I just feel as if EurCad has been in such a range for a long time. Especially when you look at the daily, it's just been in a complete range. So when it's like that, you can take moves like this.
If you look at it on the daily too, what I was seeing was the move through the 21 a couple days ago, and I saw us holding the 8. So I knew that if we weren't going to break the 8, if it was going to stay bullish from when I was looking at it, this would still be strong and have, you know, that 153.09 level as the bottom. So then when you look at today's price action, like this, right here, that 153 flat, once it couldn't hold under that, which is the same bottom here and the same bottom here,
Tuesday,
like you said, it's very, very much in a range where every time it's come to that price, it's rejected there. So it's tough. It's a tough trade because if you trade our system, like look at the L50, sell zone into buy zone into sell zone, EMAs, it's tough. And even there, the closest thing to a significant level for me would be this back here, which is from Monday. You know what I mean? That would be where I would be looking for support. So not a super clean setup, but I think it's cool to see it follow the same. Yeah, exactly. And then what you can do is maybe translate this. If you were looking at longs here at 7:30, you could go look at GCAD and see, oh, is there any longs here? And now look at that. At 7:30, 7:45, this was breaking out off the 21 for its second potential A1 entry. So you're actually able to take that idea from yesterday where we make money on EurCad, or in Ryan's case, if you didn't take the trade, but you see a winning A1, okay, I'm going to look at EurCad again for buys. Oh, it's not that great. Well, let me look at the other CAD pairs for buys. Boom, right here, much better on the TDI, following clear momentum, following the EMA. So just a much cleaner trade here on CAD. Do you know anyone that took this trade this morning, this 3-candle, 4-candle formation from the VIP chat? Was anybody involved in that?
No. You know, I actually had this.
The RSI was kind of weird. What were you gonna say, Lindsay?
Yeah, I had this on my watch list, but I felt as if I couldn't see a clean entry on it. So wait, are you saying? I don't think, was it RSI through the liquid 50 on that close? I'm not sure. No, I don't think it was either, because I had it on my watch list because I liked how the liquid 50 was rising, although it had been swapping.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was I saw the RSI close because I had it on my watch list and because I really liked it, but I didn't see an RSI close crossover.
Even so, the idea still stays the same. Where if I'm looking across pairs, I'm going to look to see what else is moving. But it's interesting too. Here, this is another swapping liquid 50 trade that really picks up momentum. So while we might see EurCad in a range, we're not seeing any ranges from these GBP
No.
pairs. They're moving. Like GJ really has moved a lot this week. You know, a couple of opportunities Tuesday, even overnight. Yesterday, I had one marked up here. That's another 50 pips. I mean, some of the pairs right now are really kicking. What are you guys telling people when they ask you what pairs are you trading the most right now? Are you just saying Euro and GBP and that's it? Anything with those?
Yeah, I'm just saying Euro GBP.
Narrowing down to perfect liquid 50s and EMAs.
Yeah, absolutely. Today on Euro JPY, I know this was like the talk of the town, right? Where everybody was looking to buy this here. We'll definitely be going over this on the recap today, but trying to buy it off that 50. Do you guys want to talk about that briefly to wrap this video up? Just because I think it is an important lesson.
Yeah, I mean, I took the trade, and I'm going to say it. I took it and it was off. It definitely was off edge for me. Even though I trade off the 200 and the daily pivot, that liquid 50 is, in my eyes, is bad. So I was trying to buy something when a liquid 50 was falling, plus that divergence on the top and an Asia range. It was just a no-go.
So it goes like this, right? Like you used to get on my ass, Lindsay, when I would take setups. Like, hey, is this a C? Hey, is this a C? And I'd be like, God damn it, it is. But if you look at this, like grade this.
But that's wasn't a good C. It wasn't a good C.
No, because
it was
this is what I was trying to say in the chat this morning. I was like, because I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, don't take that trade, because then I look like an asshole to the people that don't understand the system, and they're just looking at the short-term results. But really, this is a perfect example of divergence in the Asian range, and the 50 EMA was in the way. Pass on it.
Yeah, the liquid 50 was terrible.
And even on NZD JPY today, like really good looking TDI here. EMA's pretty good as well. But again, without a solid entry, and this one as well in the Asian range, if things can be better, don't pull the trigger. I was actually really ready to trade this today. Really ready to trade it off this. I was looking for that to shift through, and it never did. When that RSI didn't close through, I said to everybody, wait, don't pull the trigger. And it was good that we didn't. It really didn't move past the Asia high.
Yeah. The ones I actually went back to look through, because I just know I do trade off the, the daily pivot and the 200 with a swap in liquid 50 sometimes. And when I look back on my trade reviews, all the ones that I've had divergence going against me, they haven't, they've maybe just went that 1.5 hour and then turned around and went the opposite way.
It's weird. It's very tough trading into it. Do you ever find success trading into a divergence, Ryan?
Yeah, I was trading GJ to divergence.
Where
was that, today or yesterday?
Excuse me, day before.
The day before, and it wasn't a swap in, was that a swap in liquid 50 as well?
It was. This one here?
Yeah. But the liquid 50 was rising.
On the 7th. Yeah, no, it was actually, it was swapping liquid 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it was where was the divergence that you were looking at here, Ryan? I don't see it in here. I don't see the divergence here. Were you looking at it back in here?
On top? Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
From the 5th, late at night. Yeah, you have it.
Yeah.
And then all the way up. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were looking to then buy it somewhere in here, right?
Yeah, so it had that right there on this where you circled it on the 21. It was divergent there, and it popped, retested that 1 minute 800, that 15 minute 50, and then that's where I bought it from. When it retested the 800, it broke the 50 again.
That makes sense. And I think what is valid here to take note of as well is if you're looking to buy it down here on the 200, but you're also looking to use this divergence from yesterday, use that and say, wow, there's plenty of space for me to move to that divergence line. Versus
5R, dude.
Bro, it did. Exactly. I was just going to say that. Versus some of these ones that'll set up where the divergence is like this, much closer to you. And it's like, nah, I don't want to take that trade because there's nothing worth it there for
you.
You know what I mean?
I could see the risk reward to the divergence on EJ. And I was trying to kind of keep to myself here that keeping it binary. So I've traded trade ideas like this before, and they have went. And I've, that's been a runner for me. And I was trying to just keep to that. If I take this setup, then I should be taking this setup all the time to keep the consistency. But I definitely do think my liquid 50s like that falling, I have to take that into consideration and say that wasn't, good enough.
I think the falling liquid 50 only can become an issue when you're in the Asian range, when there's divergence present, when you're in a situation where the 50 EMA is in your way. Because when it started to pop through here and come through the 50, everybody was like, yeah, it's working. And I'm like, trust me, it does. This
Well, see,
50
I
is
just
tough.
got in. I really held up my patience, and I was very good with it. And I only took it. I just was in when it popped, so I was
And that was
basically
it.
just in it like 15 minutes or so.
Nice.
And
then
you
you
know,
got
just
out.
over the 15 minutes, and I got out.
That makes sense.
But it's still not, you know, it still wasn't a good idea, even though I took a small win out of it.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, is like now you can take this trade and even the trade the day before where you said you were a little aggressive.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying before on the call. Take these two situations where your aggressiveness doesn't cause you to take a huge loss. You don't get burned, but it does bring awareness to some habit changes that you're going through. And you can say, hey, tomorrow on a Friday, I'm going to make sure that I'm not aggressive. Why am I being aggressive? What do you feel like you're missing out on, Lindsay? Nothing. There's nothing. There's great trade. Burn yourself this week on something stupid like a C- setup on Euro JPY and you go down 2%. The 3 winners you catch next week will only feel like 2 winners because you're catching back, you know, some of the gains that you lost here. So I try to keep that in mind. Like there's always a better setup coming, and that seems to work well too. But this is a lot of good information. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to throw in here as we're coming up on a nice place to end our video for the day?
I think this is a good way to be very selective with the pairs that you pick. Pretty much every single day, I haven't had more than 3 pairs on my watch list, regardless of looking, you know, at all Euro and GBP pairs, and others will expand over to NZD, AUD, even USD based pairs. And I think that's when you can kind of get lost, especially with this market being kind of, well, even now, it's still kind of choppy, you know. It's a good week to be selective, a good few weeks to be selective with the pairs that you're focusing on.
I think that has to do with the coronavirus. It seems like the most successful traders in the market, in all the markets that I'm watching, because you know I watch the guys at S&B, I watch some guys that do just futures and just options. All the guys that are doing well right now are very short term, and all the guys that are normally swing trading, they're struggling because they're having to shift their mindset and they're struggling to be flexible enough to go short term, go snag and bag, and go selective in their watch list. They still think that they need a broad list of stocks or Forex pairs to trade. It's not the case. Like you said, you don't need to even trade every day. I caught 1 trade so far this week in 2 days of trading, and I'm up more than some people will make in their entire week when they're throwing 30 trades around. So it's always just about making money, not being right. And I feel like that does tie together. Like the only reason to take a bunch of trade ideas or to take a bunch of shitty trades is because you want to be right. If you really wanted to make money, there's no justification in taking C setups most of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. So you have to get on my case when you see me taking more C setups.
Lindsay, I don't mind at all. Because you jump on it on every chance you get. I'm gonna hold you to it tomorrow. If I see you in a C setup, I'm swimming over there and I'm gonna smash your laptop for you.
Absolutely, I want held accountable. Because I've only just recently got into this habit and I'm going to get out it.
But it's also, notice it's coming because...
But I don't actually know how I'm doing. I don't know why
my... Well, that's what I was going to say. Because you're getting more... You're getting better. You're winning more. You're losing less. That leads anyone to being confident. Even somebody like yourself that doesn't have a huge ego. You still will be.
I actually can't... It must be about 3 weeks ago since I actually had a loss. Like I've actually took a small loss, and I think, and even Gordon, because he gets on my case, I think he thinks, not that I'm getting overly confident, but I think because I haven't took some losses, I'm maybe just slipping a bit on my setup, my grading of my setups.
But what you can do now is tighten in. Okay, what got you to the point of not taking any losses? It was following the rules and not worrying about setups, not worrying about the money, just taking the best setups that you could. When you started that win streak, that was exactly when you were all on me about not taking bad trades. So now just tighten it back. You're still on the win streak. You're still rolling well. Carry it forward to tomorrow. There's no time to waste. There's nothing to wait for. Just start doing it tomorrow. Let's tighten it back. And keep it to the point where, like, even today, I could have bought EurCad when I sent it to everybody in the group chat. Generate a lot of ideas, but don't take all of them.
No.
Why? Why do you think you need to do that? Because you want to be right, or do you want to make money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's make money. Good.
Definitely.
Well, listen, I appreciate you guys, as always, for getting the recap done with me. Ryan, I think it was really good to have you here to have the insight of why you shifted to a different pair and why you decided to not take this trade because you had already made money on the GCAD trade. So that's awesome. And I want to just say one other thing about that is I think that would help reinforce to me, somebody that looks to trade a CAD pair in the same direction that you already made money in later in the day. It's like, hey, if we're going to trade in a direction, at least it makes sense that we're going in the same direction now, right?
Yeah, because you're 100%. Because at that point you're technically selling CAD, so there's not. It's like buying CAD JPY and then you're also buying EurCad. You're literally trading.
Yes.
Exactly. Against yourself, right? Exactly. So no, this is definitely good insight from both sides. And Linzi, as always, I appreciate you being here to bounce the ideas. So everybody in the YouTube community, drop comments. Let us know if you have any questions. If there's anything that you want to see, I'll make sure that I link Ryan's Calendly and his Instagram, and same thing for Linzi, in the description below. And we will see you guys in the next trade recap. Thank you, Ryan, and thanks, Linzi. I appreciate it always.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.